The alarms on the bridge of the horizon were not loud, but they didn't need to be. Captain Minji sat up straight in her chair, her eyes fixed on the main screen. "Unknown vessel detected, Captain," said Yuna, her fingers moving quickly over her console. "It's not matching any known designs in our database." Minji nodded slowly. The Horizon had been exploring the edge of the Tau Ceti system for 3 weeks. They were far from home, but not so far that they should be meeting anyone new. Earth had sent out signals for centuries, but no one had ever answered. Until now, perhaps. "Distance?" Minji asked. "About 500,000 kilometers and holding position," Do-Hyun reported from the security station. His hand hovered near the weapons. "Controls." But he didn't touch them. Minji stood up. This was what they had trained for, what humanity had dreamed of for generations. "Send the first contact package on all frequencies," she ordered, "and call Taehyun to the bridge." Taehyun had been sleeping when the call came. The xenobiologist had spent the last 5 years of his life preparing for this moment, yet now that it was happening, his hands shook as he pulled on his uniform. By the time he reached the bridge, the main screen showed something that made his breath catch. The alien ship was unlike anything humans had designed. It had a flowing, almost organic shape with no sharp edges or visible propulsion systems. It gleamed with a pearly iridescence against the blackness of space. "They've responded to our transmission," Yuna said excitedly. "They're sending back data packets. It looks like, I think it's a translation matrix." "They've done this before," Taehyun said, moving to Yuna's station. "They have first contact protocols." Minji joined them, her face serious but her eyes bright with excitement. "Can we communicate with them?" "I think so," Yuna said. "The computer is integrating their language." "Oh. Put me through," Minji said, straightening her uniform. The screen flickered, and for the first time in human history, an alien face appeared on the view screen of a human ship. The being had a smooth, oval face with large, almond-shaped eyes that shimmered with a metallic blue color. Its skin was pale lavender, and it had no visible hair or ears. When it spoke, its thin lips barely moved, but a soft, melodic voice came through the speakers. "Greetings, explorers. I am Telon, diplomatic liaison of the El Shiri Collective. We welcome peaceful contact with new species." Minji stepped forward. "I am Captain Minji of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We also come in peace and friendship." Taehyun couldn't take his eyes off the alien. The El Shiri, a real, living alien. Everything he had studied and prepared for was now real. "We would like to meet with you directly," Telon said. "Our ship has docking capabilities compatible with most atmospheric vessels. Would you agree to send a small team to meet on our ship?" Minji glanced at Do-Hyun, who looked concerned. "We would be honored," Minji replied carefully. "We can send a shuttle with a small team. Would it be acceptable for us to bring security personnel?" There was a slight pause before Telon responded. "We understand the need for security when meeting unknown species. You may bring one security officer unarmed. We will also have one security observer present." Minji nodded. "Agreed. We'll prepare a team and launch a shuttle within 2 hours." After the communication ended, Minji turned to Taehyun. "You're coming with me. So is Do-Hyun and Yuna." Taehyun felt his heart race. "Yes, Captain." The shuttle journey to the El Shiri ship was tense but quick. As they approached, Taehyun pressed his face to the viewport, taking in every detail of the alien vessel. It seemed to shift colors as they drew near, the surface rippling like water. "It's beautiful," Yuna whispered beside him. A port opened in, the side of the ship revealing a docking bay that glowed with soft blue light. Their shuttle pilot carefully guided them inside. "Remember," Minji said as they prepared to exit, "we represent all of humanity now. Let's make a good impression." The air inside the El Shiri ship smelled faintly sweet like flowers. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth normal. 3 aliens waited for them, Telon, whom they had seen on the view screen, and 2 others. "Welcome aboard," Telon said, making a flowing gesture with long, 4-fingered hands. "This is Nail, our lead researcher, and Kuv, our security observer. Nael was slightly shorter than Telon, with darker purple skin and eyes that seemed more green than blue. Kuv stood very straight, watching Do-hyun with obvious attention. "Thank you for your welcome," Minji said. "This is Tae-hyun, our xenobiologist, Yuna, our communications specialist, and Do-hyun, our security chief." Tae-hyun stepped forward, trying to control his excitement. "It's an honor to meet you. We have so many questions." Niall tilted his head. "As do we. You are the first species we have encountered that evolved on a heavy gravity world with such atmospheric oxygen content. Fascinating. Perhaps we could show you our meeting chamber," Telon suggested. "We have prepared refreshments that our analysis suggests will be safe for your biology." As they walked through the corridors of the alien ship, Tae-hyun noticed that all the El-Shiri they passed looked very similar to each other. Their heights varied by only a few centimeters, and their coloring followed the same pattern of lavender skin and metallic blue-green eyes. In the meeting chamber, they sat around a low table. The El-Shiri moved with identical, graceful motions, as if choreographed. "How many worlds have you visited?" Yuna asked. "The El-Shiri Collective has diplomatic relations with 7 other spacefaring species," Telon replied. "We have been exploring the stars for over 500 of your years." "And we are the first humans you've encountered?" Minji asked. "Yes. Your radio signals have been detected, but your system was not on our immediate exploration route. It was chance that brought our vessel to this region." As they talked, Tae-hyun noticed something odd. Every time one of the humans showed strong emotion, Yuna's excited laugh, Do-hyun's frown of concentration, Minji's firm hand gesture when making a point, the El-Shiri would exchange quick glances. During a pause in the conversation, Yuna accidentally knocked over her water cup. The splash made her jump and then laugh at herself. "Sorry about that." All 3 El-Shiri froze momentarily. Their reactions were identical. A slight widening of the eyes, a subtle shift backward. "No concern," Nail said after that brief pause. "Accidents occur." The conversation continued, but Tae-hyun kept watching. When Do-hyun told a brief story about a training incident that had left him with a small scar on his hand, the El-Shiri again had that identical, subtle reaction, a mixture of confusion and something else. Discomfort. After several hours of productive discussion, they agreed to set up regular communications and future meetings. The first contact was a success by any measure. As they prepared to return to their shuttle, Nael approached Tae-hyun. "Would you be willing to share biological data? With permission, of course. We find your species intriguing." "We would be happy to exchange scientific information," Tae-hyun replied. "I'm curious about El-Shiri biology as well." Nael's thin lips curved slightly. "Then we have much to discuss in the future." Back on the horizon, the team was celebrating their successful first contact, but Tae-hyun felt unsettled. He excused himself early and went to the science lab to review the recordings of their meeting. He watched the footage again and again, focusing on the El-Shiri reactions. There was something there, something important. On his 5th viewing, he decided to check the ambient sensor data from their suits: temperature, heart rate, stress indicators. What he found made him sit back in surprise. Every time the humans had shown strong or sudden emotions, the El-Shiri vital signs had spiked in identical patterns. Fear responses. As he was considering this, a notification appeared on his screen. The Horizon's systems had automatically recorded all transmissions near the ship, including internal communications from the El-Shiri vessel that hadn't been secured. With a feeling of guilt but driven by scientific curiosity, Tae-hyun opened the file. It showed Nael and Talon in what appeared to be private quarters, speaking with another El-Shiri. "They are unlike any species we have encountered," Nael was saying. "Their emotional responses are chaotic, unpredictable. Did you see how quickly they shift states? From calm to excited to serious in moments." "Are they dangerous?" asked the unknown El-Shiri. Talon made a gesture that might have been uncertainty. "They claim peaceful intentions, but their unpredictability is concerning." We must learn more, Nail said. About these humans. The unpredictable ones. Taehyun turned off the recording, his mind racing. The Elshiri weren't just curious about humans, they were frightened by them. But why? What was it about normal human behavior that terrified a spacefaring species with centuries of experience meeting alien life? He needed to find out. 1 month after first contact, a joint research station was built. It floated in neutral space between the human ship and the Elshiri vessel. The small circular station had 2 sides, one set up for humans and one for the Elshiri. Taehyun stood at the window of his new lab, watching the stars. He had shared his discovery with Captain Minji, but they had agreed to keep it quiet from the rest of the crew for now. "You wanted to see me?" a voice asked from the doorway. Taehyun turned to see Jiwoo, the ship's psychologist. She was small with round glasses and a kind face. "Yes. Thank you for coming," Taehyun said. "I need your professional opinion on something." He showed her the recordings from first contact and the Elshiri private conversation. As she watched, her eyebrows went up. "They're afraid of us?" she asked when the recording ended. "I think so," Taehyun said, "but I don't understand why." "We've been nothing but peaceful." Jiwoo tapped her chin, thinking. "It's not about peace or war. They said our emotional responses are unpredictable." "But that's just normal human behavior," Taehyun said. Jiwoo smiled. "That's exactly it. What's normal for us might be terrifying for them." On the Elshiri side of the station, Nail was preparing samples. The door slid open and a human walked in. It was Daehyun, the engineer who had been helping set up the station's systems. "Hello," Daehyun said with a smile. "I finished the power adjustments you asked for." Nail put down his tools carefully. This human moved with more force than the others, his voice louder. It made Nail nervous, but he was also curious. "Thank you," Nail said. "May I ask you a personal question?" "Sure," Daehyun said, leaning against a table. The casual posture was another strange thing. Elshiri always stood or sat with perfect posture. "Yesterday I observed 2 humans arguing about food preferences. One liked spicy food that causes pain sensations and one did not. Why would some humans enjoy pain from food while others do not?" Daehyun laughed. "People just like different things. I love spicy food myself. The burn is exciting." "Exciting," Nail repeated. "You find pain exciting?" "Not all pain," Daehyun clarified. "Just the right kind, in the right context. Like some humans enjoy scary movies that make them feel afraid, or sad songs that make them cry." Nail made a note on his tablet, trying to hide his discomfort. "Thank you for explaining." In the main meeting room, Sora, the human cultural liaison, was giving a presentation about Earth culture to a group of Elshiri. She showed pictures of different human cities, foods, and celebrations. "Humans come from many different cultures," she explained. "We have thousands of languages, religions, and traditions." One of the Elshiri raised a 4-fingered hand. "This diversity seems inefficient. The Elshiri have one language, one system of governance, one set of traditions. Humans find strength in our differences," Sora said with a smile. "We believe diversity leads to more creativity and resilience." The Elshiri looked at each other with those identical expressions that Taehyun had noticed before. A subtle widening of the eyes, a slight tilt of the head. Fear and confusion. Later that day, Taehyun and Jiwoo met in the human section's small cafeteria. They had spent the week observing interactions between humans and Elshiri. "I think I understand what's happening," Jiwoo said quietly. "I did some tests with Nail today. The Elshiri appear to have almost identical psychological and physiological responses." "You mean they all react the same way to the same stimuli?" Taehyun asked. "Exactly. When I showed Nail pictures that humans would have varied responses to, like abstract art or optical illusions, his responses were exactly the same as the 3 other Elshiri I tested." Taehyun thought about this. So they evolved to be predictable to each other? It seems that way, Jiwoo said. And then they meet humans, who can have wildly different reactions to the same thing. One human laughs at something that makes another human angry. One human loves a food that another hates. One human enjoys an activity that terrifies another. We're chaos to their order, Taehyun said slowly. The next day, a joint dinner was held to celebrate 1 month of successful cooperation. Humans and Elshiri sat together at a long table, sharing foods that were safe for both species. Captain Minji stood to make a toast to new friendships and peaceful cooperation between our peoples. Everyone raised their glasses. As they did, one of the Elshiri servers tripped. The tray they were carrying began to fall toward Talon's head. Without thinking, Do-hyun moved. He lunged across the table, his hand shooting out to catch the tray before it could hit Talon. The whole movement took less than a second. The room went silent. The Elshiri were all staring at Do-hyun with wide, metallic eyes. Sorry about that, Do-hyun said, carefully placing the tray on the table. Good reflexes from sports training. The dinner continued, but there was a new tension in the air. Taehyun watched as Nael and Talon whispered to each other, their eyes repeatedly darting to Do-hyun. That night, Taehyun couldn't sleep. He went to the lab to review new data. He was starting to piece together a theory about the Elshiri. Their homeworld must be very stable, with few predators or environmental changes. They had evolved to be extremely similar to each other, with predictable responses and behaviors. Humans, in contrast, had evolved on a dangerous, ever-changing planet. They needed to be adaptable, with varied responses and abilities. What was normal for humans, their diversity, their emotional range, their quick reflexes, was alien and frightening to the Elshiri. As he was working, his computer alerted him to a new transmission. The Horizon systems had again picked up an internal Elshiri communication. This one showed Nael speaking with a group of Elshiri he hadn't seen before. The humans are more concerning than we initially thought, Nael was saying. Today one moved faster than should be physically possible to prevent an accident. Are they dangerous? Asked one of the unknown Elshiri. They claim to be peaceful, Nael said, but they are so unpredictable. They enjoy pain from food. They watch entertainment that causes fear. Their physical capabilities and reaction times vary widely between individuals. And most concerning, they think this chaos is normal. Have you shared your findings with the other species? Taehyun leaned closer to the screen. Yes, Nael replied. The Council is concerned. The humans' unpredictability could pose a risk to the stability of galactic relations. What does the Council recommend? Continued observation for now, Nael said. But they are preparing protocols for containing the human issue if necessary. Taehyun turned off the recording, his heart racing. The Elshiri weren't just studying humans. They were reporting to other alien species. And somewhere out there, a council was making plans about humanity. He had to tell Captain Minji right away. The most ordinary things about being human were being seen as dangerous by the galactic community, and humans had no idea they were being judged. As he hurried through the quiet station, Taehyun passed the observation window. He paused, looking out at the stars. How many alien civilizations were out there? How many would see humans the way the Elshiri did, as unpredictable, dangerous creatures? And how would humans react when they found out that the very traits they valued most, their adaptability, their individuality, their emotional range, were what frightened the rest of the galaxy? Taehyun took a deep breath and continued toward the captain's quarters. They needed a plan. Fast. Captain Minji called an emergency meeting in the secure conference room of the Horizon. Only 5 people were there. Minji, Taehyun, Jiwoo, Do-hyun, and a new arrival, Hyejin, a diplomat sent from Earth when news of first contact reached home. Play it again, Minji said, her face serious. Taehyun nodded and started the recording of Nael discussing humans with other Elshiri. The room was quiet as they listened to the aliens talk about containing the human issue. When it ended, Hyejin spoke first. This changes our approach completely. We thought we were building friendship, but they see us as a threat. Not a threat exactly, Jiwoo said. More like an unpredictable factor. Something that doesn't fit their understanding of normal. Either way, Do-hyun said, crossing his arms, they're talking about containing us. That sounds like a threat to me. Minji held up her hand. Let's not jump to conclusions. We need more information. Taehyun, what have you learned about the El-Shiri? Biology. Taehyun pulled up his research on the screen. The El-Shiri are remarkably similar to each other, down to their cellular structure. Their DNA, or their version of it, has much less variation than human DNA. Their brain chemistry is nearly identical across individuals. That explains their identical reactions, Jiwoo added. They evolved in an environment with very little change or threats. Their society values sameness and predictability. And now we show up, Minji said softly, with our endless variety and unpredictable responses. We need to know more about this council they mentioned, Hyejin said. How many species are involved? What kind of power do they have? I might have a way to find out, Taehyun said. The next day, Taehyun met with Nael in the joint laboratory. He had prepared several samples of human tissue, just skin cells and blood samples, for the El-Shiri to study. As they worked, Taehyun carefully guided the conversation. I'm curious about other species you've encountered, he said casually. Are they similar to the El-Shiri? Nael looked up from his microscope. Most spacefaring species share certain traits: predictability, conformity. It creates stable societies that can work together to achieve space travel. And humans are different? Nael was quiet for a moment. Humans are unique in our experience. Your species embraces chaos rather than order. We call it diversity, not chaos, Taehyun said with a smile. But I understand how it might seem strange to you. Have you shared your observations with other species? Nael's metallic eyes flickered. The Galactic Council has been informed, yes. It is standard protocol when a new species is discovered. Galactic Council? Taehyun kept his voice casual. That sounds impressive. How many species are members? 12 currently, Nael said. The El-Shiri were the 7th to join, 300 years ago. Taehyun tried not to show his shock. 12 spacefaring civilizations, organized into a council, and humans had no idea they existed until now. I would love to learn more about the council sometime, Taehyun said. Nael started to respond, then stopped. He tilted his head in that now familiar gesture of discomfort. Perhaps, but I should return to my analysis now. Taehyun nodded, noting how quickly Nael had closed down the conversation. Something had made the El-Shiri more cautious. Over the next week, Taehyun and the others noticed a change. The El-Shiri were pulling back, limiting their interactions with the humans. Scheduled meetings were shortened or canceled. Research partnerships were put on hold. Sora reported that the cultural exchange sessions had been suspended. Taehyun said, his El-Shiri engineering contacts were suddenly too busy to work with him. Then a new ship arrived. It was larger than the El-Shiri vessel, with a dark, crystalline surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Captain Minji called everyone to the bridge to see it. Any communication from them? She asked Yuna. None, Captain. The El-Shiri haven't explained their arrival either. Do-hyun stood at the security station, his posture tense. I don't like this. First they start avoiding us, now a new player shows up without introduction. There. Taehyun pointed at the screen. A small shuttle was traveling from the new ship to the El-Shiri vessel. Minji pressed a button on her chair. Hyejin, we need you on the bridge. When the diplomat arrived, Minji explained the situation. We need to know what's happening, Hyejin said. I'll request a meeting with Telon immediately. 3 hours later, Hyejin, Taehyun, and Minji sat across from Telon and 2 new aliens in the meeting room of the research station. The new aliens were nothing like the El-Shiri. They had dark, crystal-like skin that seemed to shift and crack when they moved, with glowing points of light beneath the surface. They had no visible eyes, but Taehyun felt like they were watching his every move. These are representatives of the Neri Collective, Telon said. They are members of the Galactic Council and wish to observe humans directly. One of the crystal beings made a series of clicking sounds. A translator device on the table converted it to words. We have reviewed the Elshiri reports on human behavior. We find the data concerning. Hyejin leaned forward. Concerning in what way? Humans have shown nothing but peaceful intentions. The Neri being shifted, light patterns moving beneath its surface. Current intentions are not our primary concern. It is the unpredictable nature of your species. All council member species have evolved past such chaotic variability. Our diversity is our strength, Hyejin said firmly. Different perspectives lead to innovation and adaptation. It also leads to conflict, the second Neri clicked. Your own history proves this. Wars, violence, rapid shifts in social structures. We've learned from our history, Minji said. We've grown as a species. Talon spoke softly. The council is concerned about human expansion. Your adaptability means you could spread quickly, bringing unpredictability to stable regions of space. Taehyun felt a chill. Are you saying the council wants to restrict human movement in space? There was a long silence before Talon answered. The council is discussing a containment protocol for human space. It would limit human ships to your home system and immediate neighboring systems. Hyejin's face showed shock, but her voice remained calm. That would be unacceptable to Earth. We have already established colonies in 3 star systems, with plans for more. The protocol would allow existing colonies to remain, Telon said, but prevent further expansion for a period of observation, perhaps 100 years. 100 years. Minji couldn't hide her anger. You want to cage humanity for a century because we're different from you? The Neri beings shifted, their crystal surfaces cracking loudly. Taehyun realized they were responding to Minji's emotional display. Another example of the unpredictability that frightened them. This meeting is preliminary only, Talon said quickly. The council will make its final decision within 1 month. Until then, we hope to continue peaceful exchange of information. After the aliens left, Hyejin turned to the others, her face grim. We need to contact Earth immediately. They're planning to quarantine humanity based on their fear of our differences. Can they enforce such a containment? Taehyun asked, with 12 advanced spacefaring civilizations against one? Minji shook her head. We can't risk finding out. As they walked back to the horizon, Taehyun looked out at the stars again. Humanity had just discovered they weren't alone in the universe, and already they were facing containment because of their very nature. The most terrifying thing about humans, to these aliens, was something humans couldn't change. Their adaptability, their diversity, their emotional range, the very things that made them human. We need to make them understand, Taehyun said suddenly. Not just accept our differences, but see the value in them. Minji looked at him. How do we do that? I don't know yet, Taehyun admitted. But we have 1 month to figure it out. 1 month to convince 12 alien species that what makes humans different isn't something to fear. It's something the galaxy needs. Word spread quickly through the horizon about the Council's plan to contain humanity. Some crew members wanted to return to Earth immediately to prepare defenses. Others argued they should stay and try to change the aliens' minds. In the end, Captain Minji made the decision. We stay. We have 1 chance to show them who humans really are. Earth sent a new ship, the Diplomat, carrying Junho, the most experienced ambassador humanity had to offer, along with a team of experts. Among them was Minho, a xenobiologist who specialized in evolutionary theory. When the Diplomat arrived, Taehyun met Minho in the research station's lab. The older scientist had bright eyes and moved with quick energy that made the watching Elshiri nervous. I've read all your reports, Minho said, examining the samples of Elshiri biology. Fascinating stuff. They really do have nearly identical neural patterns. Yes, Taehyun said. And that's the problem. Our variety scares them. Minho smiled. Then we need to show them why variety is valuable. Ambassador Junho requested a formal meeting with representatives from all available council species. 3 ships responded, along with the Elshiri and the crystal-like Neri. A new species arrived, the Kayal, who looked like tall, thin humanoids with reflective silver skin. The meeting took place on a neutral station that the Elshiri created specifically for the occasion. It was larger than the research station, with a huge round table in the center. Junho sat with Minji, Taehyun, and Minho on one side. Across from them were 3 Elshiri, including Telon, 2 Neri, and 2 Kaal. Several screens on the walls showed representatives from other species who could not attend in person. "Thank you for meeting with us," Junho began. His voice was calm and measured. "We understand your concerns about human unpredictability. We're here to address those concerns." One of the Kaal spoke. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "The Council has reviewed all data on human biology and society. Your species shows dangerous levels of variability and unpredictable behavior patterns." "What you call dangerous variability," Minho said, "we call evolutionary advantage. May I present our findings?" The aliens agreed, and Minho displayed his research on the large screen. All council species evolved in stable environments with few predators or environmental changes, he explained. This led to species-wide standardization. Same responses, same abilities, same thought patterns. Taehyun noticed the aliens shifting uncomfortably as Minho described them. They didn't like being analyzed. Humans, Minho continued, evolved on a planet with constant change. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, rapidly evolving predators, changing food sources. To survive, we needed variety. Some humans good at running, others at climbing. Some good at planning, others at quick reactions. "This explains your physical differences," Talon said, "but not your emotional unpredictability." "They're connected," Jiwoo said, speaking up from her seat behind Taehyun. "Different situations required different emotional responses. Fear kept us alive when facing predators. Curiosity led us to discover new foods. Joy strengthened social bonds." One of the Neri made clicking sounds. "Yet this same variety led your species to conflict, wars, violence, chaos." "Yes," Junho admitted, "we've made mistakes, but our diversity also led to our greatest achievements. The very ships that brought us to the stars were built because different humans had different ideas and worked together to make something new." The aliens discussed among themselves in their own languages. Taehyun couldn't understand the words, but their body language showed they were unconvinced. Then a new voice spoke. It was Ryla, an Elshiri scientist who had been working quietly in the research station. Unlike other Elshiri, she had spent many hours with humans, especially with Daehyun. "Council members, I have observed humans closely. Their unpredictability is not random chaos. It follows patterns, just different patterns than ours." The other Elshiri looked at Rila with surprise. It was rare for an Elshiri to speak up without being specifically addressed. "Explain," one of the Kaal said. "Human Daehyun enjoys spicy food that would cause pain to most Elshiri." At first this seemed irrational, but he explained that the pain triggers chemical responses in his brain that create pleasure. This is not chaos. It is a different, but logical, response pattern. Taehyun felt a small hope growing. Rila was defending humans in a way the Council might understand. "One example does not disprove the pattern," a Neri clicked. "Then perhaps this will," said a new voice. Seojun, the military advisor who had arrived with Junho, stood up. "We know you've detected our defensive preparations in Earth's solar system," he said bluntly. "Your containment plan has frightened our leaders. They've ordered our ships to prepare for possible conflict." The aliens shifted nervously. On the screens, representatives of distant species were talking urgently to advisors off-screen. "Yet," Seojun continued, "here we sit talking peacefully. Some humans prepare for war while others seek friendship. This is not chaos. This is adaptability. Different responses to the same situation, working together for survival." The room went quiet. Taehyun could almost see the aliens processing this new perspective. Then suddenly alarms blared throughout the station. Environmental system failure, announced an automated voice. Oxygen levels dropping in sections 3 through 7. Temperature rising in main hall. All personnel evacuate to emergency stations. The aliens moved with practiced precision toward designated evacuation points. But Taehyun noticed something. They all moved in the exact same way, following the exact same procedures. None adapted to the changing conditions. The main evacuation route is blocked. Minji called out, checking a station display. The temperature, there is already too high. The aliens froze, unsure what to do when their practiced procedure couldn't be followed. Junho turned to the humans. Taehyun, Minho, find another path. Seojun, help the Neri. Their crystal bodies will be affected most by the temperature change. Minji, can you access the system controls? Without hesitation, each human took on their task. Taehyun and Minho found an alternate route through maintenance tunnels. Seojin helped the Neri, whose movements were becoming sluggish as the heat rose. Minji bypassed the main controls and managed to stabilize some sections of the station. Within 20 minutes, everyone was safe in a secure section. The humans had worked together, each using their different skills and ideas to solve the crisis. As they caught their breath, Talon approached Junho. Your people did not follow standard emergency protocols. Because standard protocols didn't work in this situation, Junho explained. Each human assessed the problem and found a different solution. And together those solutions saved everyone. Rila added. The Kal representative stepped forward. Perhaps there is value in your kind of adaptability, in situations where standard responses fail. That's what we've been trying to explain, Taehyun said. Human unpredictability isn't a flaw. It's a feature that helps us survive and innovate. For the first time, Taehyun saw something new in the aliens' reactions. Not fear or confusion, but genuine consideration. Later, when the systems were repaired, the council representatives met again. The tone had changed. We will take your arguments back to the full council, the call announced. The containment protocol will be reconsidered. It wasn't a victory yet, but it was hope. As the meeting ended, Rila approached Taehyun privately. There is something you should know, she said, her voice low. Something the council hasn't told you about why they fear human unpredictability. Taehyun felt his heart beat faster. What is it? Not here, Rila said, looking around nervously. Meet me in Laboratory 3 in 1 hour. There's something I need to show you. Taehyun made his way through the quiet corridors of the station to Laboratory 3. His mind raced with possibilities about what Rila might reveal. When he entered the lab, he found not only Rila waiting for him, but also Jae-ho, a historian, who had arrived on the Diplomat. Thank you for coming, Rila said, her metallic eyes darting nervously to the door. I have disabled the monitoring devices in this room, but we don't have much time. What's this about? Taehyun asked. Jae-ho spoke up. Rila contacted me after learning I study ancient civilizations. She has information that connects to my research. Rila moved to a console and activated a hidden file. A star map appeared, showing a large section of the galaxy with dozens of colored points of light. This is the territory known to the Council, she explained. The 12 current Council species are shown in blue, but look at the red points. Taehyun counted at least 30 red dots scattered across the map. What are those? He asked. Extinct civilizations, Rila said quietly. Species that reached space travel but are now gone. 32 confirmed extinctions, Jae-ho added. In my studies of Earth civilizations, mass extinctions often follow similar patterns. I suspect the same is true here. Rila nodded. You're correct. 27 of these species shared a common trait with humans. They were adaptable, diverse, unpredictable. Taehyun felt a chill. And what happened to them? Most destroyed themselves, Rila said. Their unpredictability led to conflicts their societies couldn't survive. Some split into competing factions that fought until nothing remained. Others developed weapons they couldn't control. And the Council? Taehyun asked. Did they try to help? Rila looked down. In some cases, the Council attempted to contain these species to prevent wider damage. In others, they simply observed the self-destruction. Taehyun struggled to process this. So the containment protocol isn't just fear of the unknown, it's based on historical pattern. Yes, Jae-ho said. But this is where it gets interesting. I've been studying both human history and what we know of these extinct species. There's a critical difference. He pulled up his own data on another screen. Human history is full of conflicts, yes. But we've consistently pulled back from the brink of destruction. We adapt, we learn, we change course. The Council species can't understand this, Ryla added. For us, patterns don't change. If a species shows destructive tendencies, that pattern should continue until extinction. The fact that humans keep changing their patterns is even more frightening than your unpredictability itself. Taehyun thought about this. We need to show them this difference. That human unpredictability includes the ability to recognize our own destructive patterns and change them. Exactly, Jae-ho said. But how do we prove something like that? The next morning, Taehyun shared what he had learned with Captain Minji, Ambassador Junho, and the other key human representatives. They were gathered in the secure conference room of the Horizon. So it's not just that we're different, Minji said. They've seen species like us before, and those species self-destructed. Yes, Taehyun confirmed. From their perspective, the containment protocol is a reasonable precaution. Junho looked thoughtful. Then we need to show them why we're different from those other species. Why human unpredictability doesn't inevitably lead to destruction. I think I might have a way, said a new voice. Yuna, an engineer who specialized in neural interfaces, had been listening quietly until now. But it's risky. Everyone turned to her. What if we could let them experience human thinking directly, she suggested. I've been working on a neural bridge, technology that can allow sharing of thought patterns between different brain structures. Is that even possible across different species? Minho asked, leaning forward with interest. Theoretically, yes, Yunha said. We'd need to adapt it to each species' neural patterns, but the basic principles should work. It wouldn't transfer specific thoughts or memories, but rather the experience of thinking in a human way. The experience of unpredictability, Taehyun said slowly. Of having choices rather than fixed responses. Exactly, Yunha said. Let them feel what it's like to have options, to consider alternatives, to change your mind. Junho nodded. It could work, but will any of them volunteer to try it? Rila might, Taehyun said, and maybe through her we can reach others. 3 days later, after intensive work by Yunha and her team, the neural bridge was ready. Rila had indeed volunteered, and somewhat surprisingly, so had one representative each from the Neri and Kaal. The procedure took place in a special room set up on the research station. Taehyun had volunteered to be the human participant for Rila's experience. Jiwoo would connect with the Neri, and Junho with the Kaal. Yunha carefully attached the neural sensors to each participant. This will not transfer specific thoughts, she explained to everyone present. Rather, it creates a bridge that allows you to experience the thinking patterns of your partner. The connection will last approximately 10 minutes. Taehyun lay back on the couch, feeling nervous as Yuna activated the system. At first, he felt nothing. Then slowly, a strange sensation washed over him. His thoughts seemed to narrow, to follow more defined paths. Options that he would normally consider simply didn't appear in his mind. It was like thinking through a tunnel instead of an open field. When the 10 minutes ended and the connection was broken, Taehyun sat up, feeling disoriented as his normal thought patterns reasserted themselves. Across from him, Rila was blinking, rapidly, her normally controlled features showing clear shock. So many choices, she whispered. So many ways to think about the same thing. How do you not get lost in the possibilities? Similar reactions came from the other aliens. The Neri representative's crystal surface was rippling with uncharacteristic patterns. The Kaal stood completely still, its silver skin reflecting light in new ways. That was freedom, the Kaal said finally. Frightening freedom. But also strength, added the Neri, its clicking speech slower than usual. We saw one problem 6 different ways in the span of seconds. The 3 aliens spoke to each other in their own languages, clearly struggling to process what they had experienced. Finally, Rila turned to Taehyun. I understand now. Your unpredictability isn't chaos. It's endless adaptation. You don't follow one path because you can see many paths. And choose between them, Taehyun added. That's the key difference between humans and the extinct species you showed me. We can see our destructive patterns and choose different ones. The final council vote came 3 weeks later. Representatives from all 12 member species gathered virtually, with the humans waiting anxiously for their decision. Telon delivered the news to the assembled human team. The council has voted against the containment protocol, he announced. Instead, we will establish a careful integration program. Human ships will be welcomed in council space, with proper monitoring and cultural exchange. The humans exchanged relieved glances. Those of us who experienced the neural bridge shared our experience with the council, Telon continued. It was persuasive. We still find human unpredictability concerning, but we now recognize its potential value. Thank you, Junho said formally. Humanity looks forward to peaceful cooperation with all council species. After the official meeting ended, Taehyun found Rila waiting for him in the corridor. Your species still frightens mine, she said honestly. But now we understand that what makes humans different, your adaptability, your emotional range, your ability to change patterns, is not a flaw to be contained. It is a different kind of strength, Taehyun smiled. The most terrifying thing about humans is that we think we're normal. But maybe the truth is, there is no normal in the universe. Just different paths of evolution, different ways of thinking, different strengths, perhaps, Rila agreed, and perhaps the galaxy needs all of them. As Taehyun looked out at the stars once more, he felt a new sense of possibility. Humanity had faced its first galactic challenge not through force of arms, but by helping others understand that their greatest perceived weakness was actually their greatest strength. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant, but full of potential, friends and allies. Different, yes, sometimes frightening in their difference. But in those differences lay the true strength of life in all its forms.